Shadow Ticket is the first Thomas Pynchon book I can honestly say I inhaled. Part of that is the structure. It follows pretty much a single character, cannonballing through a series of wild events, starting in Milwaukee and ending up in pre-Nazi Hungary. Part of it is the writing style, which is just pure fun all the way through. In fact, you can pretty much just flick to any page and find a paragraph that's going to make you laugh. Let's just try this. Too bad you never got around to the civic opera before they shut it down. Deep lessons in it for the working gumshoe. For instance, you know how puzzled civilians always get when some frail little tubercular seamstress turns out to be a good-sized specimen, healthy enough to belt out her number to the back row of the cheapest balcony seats in town and beyond? Well, which is she? They keep wondering. Answer is she's both, but neither as important as what she really is, which is the love of the tenor's life, and he's not necessarily any Valentino either. Educational point here is you never know who's apt to be smitten gaga by whom, which guarantees plenty of job security for everybody in this business. Any page has something that you are going to marvel at and that you're going to laugh at. The thing that I didn't like about Shadow Ticket, and I've only read it once, and it's almost unfair to judge any Thomas Pynchon book that you've only read once, but every other one of his books left me with this deep feeling of loss. Sometimes it was this very angry loss, like Gravity's Rainbow, where it's almost like modern life is pulling you apart, fracturing you, and you just can't do anything to pull it back together. And other times, it's this sort of creeping loss of inherent vice where you can tell that there's something special that is being sucked out of the world and you can't do anything else but just do the best you can, be good to your friends and the people you care about. It's a very nostalgic feeling. And at least on first read, I didn't get this out of Shadow Ticket. It is a great story about a private detective, and it ends up in a place which, for Thomas Pynchon, almost feels hopeful. So do I recommend reading this book? Yeah, I've read every single Thomas Pynchon book, most of them more than once. I loved Shadow Ticket. I will definitely read it again. Is it going to stand with the very best Pynchon ever? My guess is 50 years from now, we won't be talking about it in the same way that we talk about Mason and Dixon or Gravity's Rainbow, but that doesn't mean it's not a great read. Usually I say this at the end. I'm going to stick it in the middle here and just see what people think. If you like books like I'm talking about today, please check out my novel, The Nihilisticats. Nihilisticats is about people looking for love and connection and instead finding terrorism and cyber conspiracies and shifting identities. Indie Reader named it the best pop culture novel of 2024. They said it's over-the-top fun and nothing is off limits. So if you like Pynchon and Houellebecq, check it out. Moving on, I just finished Michel Houellebecq's 2022 novel, Annihilation. If you watch my other video counting down all of his books up to this point, you know that I have sort of a conflicted relationship with this author. There's books like Elementary Particles or even kind of like The Map and the Territory that I think are just the pinnacle of fiction, important books to read. There's other books like Serotonin that I just didn't connect to. For me, it just felt too much like old man shakes fist at cloud. I didn't get anywhere with it. But I did get a lot out of reading Annihilation. Annihilation feels less like a classic Houellebecq novel. Annihilation feels less like a classic Houellebecq novel and almost like one of the books in Knausgaard's Morningstar series. It's about not very interesting people dealing with the reality of life, trying to have a physical relationship with a wife after you've been married to her for 25 years, dealing with the problems of your brothers and sisters and your aging parents. But for these people, they also see the threat of something terrible looming on the horizon because spotted throughout the book, there is the knowledge that a very dangerous terrorist organization is creating an escalating series of terror attacks with no definable purpose or structure or political aim behind them. This gives this level of creeping fear to the book that felt really real to modern life to me. And true to this author's style, it is just filled with interesting insights that will make you stop and think. For instance, at one point, he's talking about whether political parties even need a platform. Had the kings of France shown up armed with a political program, a plan of reforms? Never. And yet, nonetheless, they had gone down in history as great kings. Or in another place, he wrote, as a rule, Christians have trouble with the absurd. It's not really one of their categories. And in my margins, I wrote here, the opposite of Christianity is not atheism, it's absurdism. Now, I can't tell you that if you're going to read one book by this author, this is the book to read, even though it is maybe a little bit less shocking or a little bit less transgressive than most of his other books. It doesn't give you a real fair insight into what makes him so famous, and it's probably his thickest book. I'm pretty sure it's his longest one. Something like The Elementary Particle still feels more important to me, and yet I think this is a worthy addition to this author's canon. And if this is the last book he ends up writing, I'm glad it exists. Quick writing update, I'm getting close to publishing a book called Blavy-Cole. Blavy-Cole is more of a book in like the Philip K. Dick or the Alan Moore sort of style. It has serious themes to think about, but at the end of the day, this is about a sci-fi detective chasing a werewolf through a speculative city, at the same time that he tries to deal with absurd amateur detectives clustered around him and his changing relationship with his wife. I do everything on my books myself. Conceive them, I write them, outline them, I do the layouts myself, the proofing myself, I do the covers myself. And so when this comes out, I'd really appreciate it if you checked it out. More to come on that. And thank you for watching this video.